As Commissioner Rob Manfred grapples with pace of game and decrease of action issues impacting fan interest in his game, the events in Miami and Tampa Bay these past couple of weeks have further demonstrated how baseball has a real Florida problem, with no solution in sight. Worse, it's a problem that was self-inflicted. What's happening in Miami, with Derek Jeter and his moneybags partner, Florida businessman Bruce Sherman, now reportedly seeking an additional $250 million from new investors while readying to trade their biggest star and gate attraction, NL MVP Giancarlo Stanton, all because they grossly overpaid for the Marlins, is an absolute travesty. Unfortunately, it's just the latest chapter in the star-crossed history of the Marlins franchise, in which one owner after another has alienated what fan base there is down there by continually trading away all their best players. The fact is, the baseball owners should have never approved the $1.2 billion sale of the Marlins from Jeffrey Loria to the Sherman-Jeter Group. That they did was out of pure greed. If the Marlins, who have been losing upwards of $70 million a year since Loria bought the team for $158 million in 1998 and finished last in the majors in attendance 5 of the first 6 years of their new ballpark, could be worth $1.2 billion, what were the other owners' teams now worth? What did they care if Sherman-Jeter were underfinanced and would immediately begin tearing down the team and rendering Marlins Park, or whatever it'll be called after its naming rights are sold, even more of a ghost town than it already was. LDIA's ETNS. In the few months they've owned the Marlins, Jeter Sherman have repeatedly given the middle finger to the Marlins fan base in much the same way Loria, the most hated man in South Florida, did in his 15-year stewardship. It started with Jeter running off Mr. Marlin, Jeff Conine, the most popular Marlin of all time, who was serving as assistant to the president, and then firing two Miami icons, Hall of Famers Andre Dawson and Tony Perez, from the front office. Now they are going to trade Stanton, who has 10 years and $295 million left on his contract, in an effort to get their projected $115 million payroll down to $85 million. But since it's known this is all about getting rid of money, they will not be getting any substantial prospects back for him. And whether they're able to trade Stanton, who has a no-trade clause, or not, they've made it clear they're going to be decimating the roster. The most hideous aspect of the Marlins sale to Jeter Sherman was how Loria fleeced everyone, starting with Jeter Sherman themselves, to the other owners to whom he never paid back a $38.5 million loan when he bought the team until he sold it to the Miami-Dade County taxpayers, who paid for Marlins Park with $488 million in bonds that, with interest, will amount to a total payout of $2.6 billion by 2049, and was still able to walk away with over $50 million in his pocket after racking up nearly $400 million in debt with the team. Brian Blanco. Getty Images. Because Loria did nothing to market the team, especially within the Latin community, the Marlins consistently have been the leading recipients of MLB revenue, sharing approximately $70 million, despite having a new stadium. This is all the more reason why Manfred and the owners, if they really had the best interests of the Marlins and the baseball community of South Florida in mind, should have done all they could to get the team to Cuban-born, Miami billionaire industrialist Jorge Mas, who rightly valued the team at no more than $940,950 million and chose not to go beyond that. Meanwhile, on the other side of Florida, Tampa Bay Rays fans are hearing the annual refrain from team ownership to expect one of the lowest payrolls in baseball to go even lower in 2018. Any day now the Rays will begin shedding their most expensive players, possibly even Steph Ace Chris Archer and closer Alex Colomé, and further turning off their dwindling fan base. The problem in Tampa Bay, where their 30th ranked average attendance of 15,670 in 2017 was half the major league average, remains the lack of a suitable stadium. And Manfred, in August, stated that the Rays need to start showing real progress toward getting a new place to play. But even if they are able to finally settle upon a site, there's the other question of whether the taxpayers will approve funding for what would have to be a retractable roof stadium of nearly $500 million. Mike Ehrman. Getty Images. The chronic owner abuse of the Marlins and the stadium plight of the Rays notwithstanding, it was a huge mistake in the first place on baseball's part to expand into Florida. That's been pretty much proven. It used to be said that baseball was the one sport where every year hope springs eternal. Tell that to the fans of South Florida and Tampa Bay who have once again been told there's no reason to go to the ballpark anytime for the foreseeable future.